Picture this. You scrape together every penny for your slice of the Texas dream. Barbecue on weekends, property taxes that don't require a second mortgage, and wide open skies that make you forget about those cramped city apartments. Then 2025 hits like a freight train carrying foreclosure notices. Your investment just lost 40% of its value faster than ice melts on Houston asphalt. This isn't some Hollywood disaster movie. This is the housing meltdown that real estate agents swore would skip right over the Lone Star State. Welcome to the dark side of Texas real estate, where boom towns are turning into ghost towns and your dream home might become your financial nightmare. We're about to take a road trip through 10 Texas cities where for sale signs outnumber residents, insurance bills red like ransom demands, and the only thing growing faster than the weeds in empty subdivisions is the regret of people who bought at the peak. Stick around because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which Texas markets to avoid like a rattlesnake convention and how to spot the warning signs before you become another cautionary tale. But here's the kicker. Even if you dodge the obvious disasters, some of these places will nickel and dime you to death with fees so creative you'll wonder if the city council moonlights as loan sharks. If you're tired of paying premium prices for discount nightmares, hit that like button and subscribe because the housing horror stories are just getting started. Let's roll through these 10 Texas towns where the American dream went to die a slow, expensive death. Number 10 brings us to Killeen, where silence has replaced the sound of opportunity. Roll into this central Texas city on any given Tuesday, and the quiet hits you immediately. Not the peaceful kind of quiet that makes you want to buy a rocking chair. The eerie kind that makes you check if your GPS led you to the right place. Just 2 years ago, traffic backed up regularly with military personnel heading to Fort Cavazos. The base that used to be Fort Hood was the economic heartbeat of this entire region, pumping steady paychecks into the local housing market like in Ford drip, keeping a patient alive. Then came the downsizing. Thousands of soldiers and civilian contractors got reassignment orders or pink slips, and the exodus began. According to recent market data, home prices in Killeen have dropped a staggering 43% from their 2022 peak. But the numbers only tell part of the story. Properties that used to sell in less than a month now sit on the market for over 3 months, collecting dust and accumulating carrying costs that turn sellers into reluctant landlords. Bell County hasn't gotten the memo about falling home values, though. Property taxes still demand their pound of flesh at an effective rate of nearly 2%, meaning you're paying premium tax rates on a depreciating asset. It's like being charged luxury car payments for a vehicle that loses value every time you turn the key. The rental market offers no refuge either. As military families pack up and leave, landlords find themselves in a race to the bottom, slashing rents just to keep units occupied. Drive down Rancier Avenue, and you'll see the economic reality painted in neon signs. Pawn shops multiplying like weeds, payday loan offices advertising same-day cash, and coffee shops offering veterans discounts alongside free Wi-Fi for job seekers. This isn't urban decay happening overnight. It's economic strangulation happening in slow motion, where each departing family leaves behind another house competing with yours for an ever-shrinking pool of buyers. The fundamental problem with Killeen isn't bad city management or poor infrastructure. It's total dependence on federal defense spending, something completely outside local control. Would you bet your financial future on a housing market that lives or dies based on Pentagon budget decisions made in Washington, D.C.? Number 9 takes us to Beaumont, where the air itself tells the story of economic decline. Step out of your car, and that sharp chemical smell hits you immediately. For generations, those refinery stacks represented job security and housing market stability. In 2025, they smell like unemployment checks. Exxon's recent workforce reductions eliminated hundreds of positions in a city where petrochemical jobs formed the backbone of the middle class. When refinery paychecks disappear, so do home buyers, and Beaumont is learning this lesson the hard way. Recent market analysis shows median home prices down 36% from their pandemic peak, with properties averaging over 90 days on the market. But the real killer isn't just falling prices. It's the insurance catastrophe that's making homeownership financially impossible for many residents. Major insurance carriers have abandoned Jefferson County entirely, forcing homeowners into the Texas Fair Plan at triple the premiums. A modest home valued at $200,000 now costs $8,000 annually just for basic coverage. Add mandatory flood insurance, and you're looking at another $300 monthly, turning affordable mortgages into budget-busting nightmares. The flooding risk is real and getting worse. FEMA's latest map revisions have pushed entire neighborhoods back into high-risk flood zones, triggering mandatory insurance requirements that many homeowners simply cannot afford. Even if your property stays dry during storms, your bank account will drown in premium payments. Downtown Beaumont looks frozen in time, but not in a charming way. The same vacant storefronts that dotted the landscape 5 years ago remain empty, their faded lease signs curling in the humidity like dead leaves. New businesses open with optimism and close with resignation, unable to survive in a market where disposable income is evaporating along with industrial jobs. The suburban foreclosure market tells the real story, though. Courthouse steps fill regularly with distressed properties, but even bargain hunters think twice about investing in an area where one corporate decision or one major storm can wipe out years of equity building. Unless you're paying cash and willing to gamble on a petrochemical recovery that may never come, Beaumont represents everything risky about single-industry housing markets. Number 8 brings us to Wichita Falls, a place that looks stable on the surface but bleeds value underneath like a slow leak in a tire. You expect small-town charm, tree-lined streets, and neighbors who wave from their porches. Instead, you find for sale signs multiplying and landlords quietly cutting rents to fill empty units. Market data reveals median home prices down 32% from their 2022 highs, driven by job losses at Shepherd Air Force Base and manufacturing plant closures that have drained the local buyer pool. The unemployment rate has climbed above 6%, the highest in North Texas, creating a situation where those still working hesitate to take on 30-year debt in a city where help-wanted signs are disappearing faster than they're posted. Properties sit on the market for over 100 days on average, 3 times longer than during the pandemic boom years. Sellers are offering furniture packages, prepaid lawn care, and closing cost assistance just to attract buyers in a market where demand has evaporated. Property taxes in Wichita County technically run lower than major metropolitan areas, but falling home values have triggered quiet reassessments designed to squeeze every possible dollar from struggling homeowners. Your tax bill won't drop nearly as fast as your equity, creating a painful squeeze between declining asset values and persistent carrying costs. The rental investment story is particularly brutal. Investors who bought properties during the 2021 to 2022 frenzy are bailing out as rents drop 12% year over year, while maintenance costs and insurance premiums continue climbing. The math simply doesn't work anymore for buy-and-hold strategies. Drive through downtown, and you'll see ambitious projects frozen mid-development. An empty brewery still sports a coming-soon banner. A boutique hotel sits shuttered, and a half-finished apartment complex stands like a monument to misplaced optimism, its steel beams rusting under the relentless Texas sun. Local leaders keep talking about landing one major employer to turn things around, but hope isn't an investment strategy. Until that mythical savior company arrives, Wichita Falls feels less like a stable market and more like a slow-motion exodus, where the last person holding property gets stuck with the bill. Number 7 brings us to Odessa, where you can gauge the local economy by counting pickup trucks and driveways. When oil booms, this West Texas city thrives. When crude prices crash, everything from paychecks to property values follows. In 2025, oil isn't booming. It's limping along like a wounded animal. West Texas Intermediate crude has struggled to stay above $60 per barrel for months, triggering layoffs across the Permian Basin that ripple through the entire regional economy. According to recent market analysis, Odessa's median home price has dropped 40% from pandemic-era peaks, with days on market ballooning from 3 weeks to over 3 months. Houses that once sparked bidding wars now collect dust while sellers throw in closing costs, appliance packages, and even 6 months of HOA dues just to attract a buyer. The desperation is palpable in every listing description that reads more like a plea than a sales pitch. Ector County's property taxes remain punishingly high at nearly 2% effective rate, meaning you pay the same percentage on a home worth tens of thousands less than you paid for it. Add insurance premiums averaging over $4,000 annually for basic coverage, and the carrying costs quickly overwhelm the economics of ownership. JBS Parkway tells the story of boom and bust cycles written in empty parking lots and rolled-up hiring banners stuffed in dumpsters. Strip malls feature more vacant units than occupied ones, and RV parks sit half-empty as transient oil field workers pack up for more promising locations. Rental property investors who rode the shale boom are now slashing rents to stay competitive, but with vacancy rates hitting 14%, many are quietly listing properties at significant losses. Each oil bust leaves deeper scars on the local market, and this time the younger workforce isn't sticking around to wait for the next boom cycle. The fundamental problem with Odessa isn't poor city planning or inadequate infrastructure. It's complete dependence on a commodity whose price gets determined by geopolitical forces thousands of miles away. Would you tie your financial future to something as volatile as global oil markets? Number 6 takes us to Laredo, where the heat hits like a physical force, but economic pressure weighs even heavier on residents trying to make ends meet. This border city lives and breathes cross-border trade, making it vulnerable to disruptions in international commerce that can devastate local employment overnight. Tighter customs regulations, stalled infrastructure projects, and reduced Mexican manufacturing output have combined to cut truck traffic nearly 20% from 2 years ago. Fewer trucks mean fewer jobs across every sector, from logistics to the taco stands that feed drivers during border crossing delays. Recent market data shows median home prices down 29% since the 2022 peak, with properties averaging over 100 days on the market. The extended selling periods reflect a fundamental mismatch between asking prices and what local wages can support for mortgage payments. Insurance presents another layer of financial punishment. Being both a border city and located in a high-heat zone, Laredo homeowners pay roughly $4,000 annually for basic coverage, with windstorm and flood additions pushing costs over $6,000 for many properties. Some neighborhoods now require flood insurance thanks to updated FEMA maps following last year's Rio Grande overflow scare. Downtown maintains a facade of vitality with farmers markets, art walks, and live music events, but venture into the suburbs and you'll find half-finished subdivisions that look like monuments to overconfidence. Streets are paved, curbs painted, utility lines installed, but no houses beyond the first row because builders ran out of qualified buyers. Webb County property taxes at nearly 2% effective rate don't care that home values are sinking. With the city's heavy reliance on trade revenues, there's little political appetite for tax relief, leaving homeowners squeezed between declining asset values and persistent carrying costs. Investors who tried turning single-family homes into short-term rentals for cross-border business travelers have been particularly hard hit. Occupancy rates are down significantly, and nightly rates have dropped 15% in the past year, making the rental strategy economically unviable. The challenge with Laredo isn't local mismanagement. It's tying your mortgage to the health of global supply chains and international trade relationships that can shift based on political decisions made in multiple countries. Number 5 brings us to Abilene, a city that maintains an outward appearance of small-town stability while hiding serious financial stress beneath its polite surface. Lawns stay trimmed, porches get swept, and residents maintain that friendly Texas demeanor, but scratch beneath the surface and the cracks show quickly. Abilene's median home price has dropped 27% since 2022, but don't expect property tax bills to follow the same downward trajectory. Taylor County maintains an effective tax rate of nearly 2%, and the city council has shown little hesitation in squeezing every possible dollar to cover budget shortfalls. The job market situation isn't helping stabilize housing demand. Dyess Air Force Base remains the economic anchor, but recent civilian contractor cuts have rippled through service and retail sectors throughout the region. Unemployment has climbed nearly 6%, high for a city that once prided itself on economic stability. Stagnant wages combined with persistent inflation mean fewer qualified buyers can afford existing inventory, leaving for sale signs fading in the sun until desperate sellers start offering furniture packages and prepaid lawn care just to sweeten deals. Properties now sit on the market over 100 days on average, double the pandemic peak timeframe. Investors who purchased rental properties during the 2020 to 2021 buying frenzy are watching returns evaporate as rents slip 9%, while insurance premiums jump another 12% annually. Drive through downtown, and you'll see both ambition and attrition side by side. New coffee shops operate across from boarded storefronts. A boutique hotel project sits stalled mid-renovation, and a civic center revitalization plan remains stuck in the funding stage while city resources get stretched thinner each budget cycle. Abilene isn't experiencing dramatic collapse like some Texas markets. Instead, it's eroding slowly the way small markets do when taxes rise, wages stagnate, and young families quietly relocate to cities with better opportunities and lower carrying costs. If you bought property here 5 years ago, you might still have positive equity. But if you're considering buying now, ask yourself whether you want to pay premium taxes for a market trending in the wrong direction. Number 4 brings us to Galveston, where salt air feels romantic until you realize it's slowly consuming your investment along with your house. Waterfront property here comes with a side order of constant repairs and insurance bills that make your mortgage payment look like pocket change. Recent market analysis shows Galveston's median home price down 33% from 2022 peaks, but the decline isn't just about fewer buyers. It's about buyers running the numbers and realizing they literally cannot afford to own property here. Homeowners insurance in Galveston County now averages over $9,000 annually. Add mandatory windstorm coverage, and you're looking at another $3,000 to $5,000. Flood insurance adds another $1,500 to $2,500 depending on elevation. That's $12,000 to $16,000 yearly just to stay insured, and you absolutely need every bit of that coverage. NOAA's latest coastal risk models show a 7% annual probability of major flood loss in several neighborhoods. Storm surge maps make the entire West End look like an ocean floor waiting to happen, which explains why insurance companies charge premium rates for what they consider inevitable claims. The rental market that once benefited from tourism has cooled dramatically. Vacation rental occupancy rates are down 18% year over year, with nightly rates dropping enough that many second homeowners are pulling listings altogether. Between hurricane seasons and tightening short-term rental regulations, the Airbnb pays the mortgage fantasy is crumbling fast. Drive along Seawall Boulevard, and you'll see both charm and destruction. Historic houses with fresh paint sit next to boarded bungalows that couldn't survive last year's storms. Further inland, half-renovated homes sit abandoned mid-project when insurance payouts fell short of repair costs. Locals describe Galveston real estate as gambling, and they're right. You either win big during calm periods or lose catastrophically during storm seasons. But right now, the odds favor the house, both literally and metaphorically. Would you sign a 30-year mortgage knowing one hurricane season could eliminate both your home and your life savings simultaneously? Number 3 takes us to McAllen, which looks like a boom town from a distance with new stucco subdivisions, big box stores, and billboards advertising luxury living. Get closer, though, and the shine wears off faster than cheap paint in desert sun. Drive through those master-planned communities and you'll find streets half-filled, model homes locked tight, and weeds sprouting through driveways that have never seen a car because nobody ever moved in. Market data reveals median home prices have plunged 36% from 2022 peaks as investors who flooded the market during the pandemic now dump properties at significant losses. Many of these were never intended as primary residences. They were supposed to be rentals or flips, but with interest rates above 6.5% and local wages lagging state averages, the buyer pool has evaporated. Days on market have exploded from under 30 in 2022 to over 100 this summer. New construction projects stall as builders quietly abandon over-leveraged developments where the finished product has no market demand at profitable price points. Insurance costs between $3,000 and $4,000 annually, with flood coverage adding another $1,000 to $1,800 in some neighborhoods. While McAllen isn't as hurricane-prone as coastal areas, heavy rain events from tropical systems have been sufficient to spook lenders and increase premiums substantially. Downtown maintains appearances with farmers markets, art walks, and live music events, but drive a few miles out and you see clear signs of an overbuilt, under-demand market. Foreclosure notices appear on doors, commercial spaces display for lease banners, and empty strip malls wait for tenants who may never materialize. The lower prices might seem tempting, but remember that cheap doesn't equal safe in real estate markets. When speculators who created the price run-up are the same people running for the exits, it should tell you everything you need to know about future prospects. Number 2 brings us to Port Arthur, where the story isn't sudden collapse, but long, slow economic strangulation. This refinery town has always depended on petrochemical employment, but even that foundation is cracking under pressure. Multiple refinery maintenance shutdowns have stretched far longer than planned in 2025, and discussions about permanent workforce reductions are becoming more frequent. Every plant downsizing triggers another wave of for sale signs as workers either lose jobs or relocate to more stable markets. Market data shows median home prices down 39% since 2022, with properties averaging over 4 months on the market, among the longest selling periods in Texas. The extended timelines reflect a city population that has shrunk 8% in just 3 years, leaving every departing family's house competing with yours for an ever smaller buyer pool. Flood risk is persistent and worsening. FEMA's latest remapping put additional neighborhoods into high-risk zones, and after recent hurricane damage, insurers aren't feeling generous with coverage terms. Annual homeowners insurance averages nearly $7,000 before adding mandatory flood coverage that can cost another $2,000 to $3,000 annually. Jefferson County property taxes still consume over 2% of assessed value, meaning tax bills that often exceed insurance premiums while home values continue declining. Drive down Proctor Street, and you'll see faded murals alongside boarded windows, with occasional new storefronts trying to maintain hope against overwhelming economic headwinds. Rental investors are pulling back aggressively. Vacancy rates climb while rents drop nearly 15% year over year. The pool of potential tenants shrinks alongside the city's population, leaving landlords with empty units and mounting maintenance costs from persistent coastal humidity. Port Arthur has resilience built into its DNA from surviving previous economic downturns. But in housing terms, resilience often just means taking longer to drown, literally and economically. Number 1 brings us to Corpus Christi, which still markets itself as the sparkling city by the sea, while 2025 reality has turned that sparkle into pure panic for property owners. Those waterfront views remain gorgeous, but they come with price tags sinking faster than the shoreline during high tide. Market data puts median home prices down a staggering 45% from 2022 highs, the steepest drop of any major Texas city this year. This isn't simple market correction. It's a perfect storm of overbuilding, skyrocketing insurance costs, and increasing climate risk that's making homeownership financially impossible for many residents. Coastal flood maps have been completely redrawn, pushing entire neighborhoods into high-risk categories. Homeowners insurance now averages over $8,000 annually, with windstorm and flood coverage adding another $4,000 to $6,000. That's $12,000 to $14,000 yearly before you've paid $1 toward your actual mortgage. Tourism, The city's economic lifeline beyond the port has been erratic since pandemic recovery peaked. Cruise ship visits are down, vacation rental occupancy has dropped 21% year over year, and investors who counted on Airbnb income to float second homes are liquidating properties often for less than purchase prices. Downtown revitalization projects that once represented civic pride now sit stalled indefinitely. The half-finished high-rise on Shoreline Drive stands as a monument to optimistic planning and terrible timing, while neighborhoods like Flower Bluff and North Beach are dotted with for-sale signs, some sun-bleached from months of market exposure. The job market isn't supporting cost of living increases either. While the port of Corpus Christi remains busy, automation has reduced headcount requirements, and oil export volatility keeps workers cautious about establishing permanent roots in an expensive housing market. Corpus Christi has always represented a gamble between natural beauty and environmental risk. But right now, the house is winning decisively, and both literal and financial tides are rising faster than most homeowners can manage. 10 cities, 10 cautionary tales, and one clear message about Texas real estate in 2025. You've just taken a virtual road trip through markets where empty subdivisions outnumber residents, insurance bills read like extortion notes, and job markets are on life support. This isn't about scaring you away from property investment entirely. It's about preventing you from parking your life savings in markets already halfway to ghost town status through economic forces beyond your control. Every one of these cities shares common warning signs: overdependence on single industries, climate risks that make insurance unaffordable, property tax systems that don't adjust downward with falling values, and demographic trends showing more people leaving than arriving. The lesson isn't that Texas real estate is doomed everywhere. It's that location selection matters more than ever when carrying costs can exceed mortgage payments, and economic recovery depends on factors completely outside local control. So which of these markets would you still consider risky enough to gamble on? Or better yet, which struggling Texas city did we miss that deserves recognition as a housing horror story? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button if overpriced, overhyped real estate makes you want to scream at your computer screen. And subscribe before you become the next cautionary tale we feature in a future video about markets that seemed safe until they weren't. The road trip through Texas housing disasters ends here, but the lessons should stick with you every time you see a too good to be true listing price in any of these markets.